When Pedro Pascal stepped onto the screen as Oberyn Martell in Game of Thrones, he didn't just steal the spotlight, he redefined what it meant to be a late-blooming star. Charismatic, fierce, and unapologetically real, Pascal wasn't just acting, he was finally being seen. His rise wasn't overnight. It was the result of decades of grinding in the shadows, unwavering belief, and the quiet confidence of a man who knew his time would come. Early life, from political exile to American dreams. Pedro Pascal was born José Pedro Balmaceda Pascal on April 2, 1975, in Santiago, Chile, during a time of great political unrest. His parents, Veronica Pascal Ureta, a child psychologist, and José Balmaceda Riera, a fertility doctor, were fierce opponents of the military dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet. Their activism made them targets, and shortly after Pedro's birth, the family sought asylum in Denmark before eventually settling in the United States. Pedro was raised primarily in San Antonio, Texas, and later in Orange County, California. Growing up as a refugee-turned-immigrant, Pascal understood what it meant to live between two worlds. He was fluent in Spanish and immersed in Latin culture at home, while simultaneously adapting to American customs outside. That duality would later fuel his performances, grounded, nuanced, and deeply human. As a child, Pedro was drawn to the arts, especially acting. He spent hours watching movies and imitating his favorite actors. Encouraged by his mother, he pursued drama seriously, eventually gaining acceptance into the Orange County School of the Arts. He later studied at the prestigious Tisch School of the Arts at NYU, where he honed his craft alongside peers who would later become major industry figures. Tragedy and transformation. Pedro's young adult life was marred by a personal tragedy. In 1999, his mother died by suicide. Her death had a profound impact on him. As a tribute, he began using her surname, Pascal, professionally. In interviews, he has spoken tenderly about her unwavering belief in his talent, crediting her with giving him the confidence to persist even when the odds were stacked against him. Struggling with grief and a cutthroat industry, Pascal spent years working odd jobs, bartending, waiting tables, and doing voiceover gigs, just to make ends meet. While he landed small roles in TV series like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, NYPD Blue, and Law & Order, they were often blink-and-you-miss-it appearances. Still, he remained committed. The long road to recognition. The early 2000s were a grind. Pedro became something of a journeyman actor, well known within casting circles, but relatively anonymous to audiences. He took on guest roles in series like CSI, Without a Trace, and The Good Wife, developing a reputation for reliability, versatility, and humility. Yet the breakthrough that every actor dreams of remained elusive. In these years, he also explored the New York theater scene. Performing in off-Broadway productions gave him the artistic fulfillment that TV didn't always provide. He became friends with actors like Oscar Isaac, another rising Latino actor, and their bond became a cornerstone of emotional support in an industry that often felt isolating. But by his late 30s, Pedro faced a painful question. Would he ever make it big? For many, midlife marks a pivot away from dreams. For Pedro Pascal, it was a slow-burning fuse about to ignite. Game of Thrones. The world takes notice. In 2014, everything changed. Pascal was cast as Oberyn Martell, the charismatic and vengeful Red Viper of Dorne, in HBO's Game of Thrones. The role was relatively small, limited to a single season, but Pascal's magnetic performance made it iconic. His portrayal was intense yet sensual, ruthless yet principled. When his character met a gruesome end in a gladiatorial battle, fans were outraged, not just by the brutality, but by the loss of one of the show's most compelling new characters. Pascal became an overnight sensation. Suddenly, he was being recognized on the street. He was invited to late-night talk shows. He was trending on social media. But more importantly, He was finally getting the kind of scripts he had dreamed of. Narcos and the Rise of the Leading Man. In 2015, Pascal landed the co-lead role of DEA agent Javier Peña in Narcos, Netflix's gripping drama about the rise and fall of Pablo Escobar and the Colombian drug trade. It was another perfect match. Pascal brought a gritty, world-weary realism to Peña, a man driven by justice, but worn down by the system he serves. Narcos ran for 3 seasons and helped cement Pedro Pascal as more than a one-hit wonder. He wasn't just a character actor anymore. He was a leading man. But unlike many Hollywood heartthrobs, Pascal's appeal lay in his humanity. He wasn't chiseled perfection. He was real, warm, slightly awkward in interviews, endlessly charming, and self-deprecating. He became beloved for his kindness, his humor, and the way he uplifted others. The Mandalorian, a new kind of hero. In 2019, Pascal took on what would become his most globally recognizable role to date. Din Djarin, the masked bounty hunter at the center of The Mandalorian, Disney Plus' flagship Star Wars series. Wearing a helmet for most of the show, Pascal had to rely solely on voice, movement, and emotion to convey a character whose face we rarely see. It was a masterclass in restraint and subtlety, and once again, he struck a chord. The relationship between Din Djarin and Grogu, affectionately known as Baby Yoda, became the heart of the show and a cultural phenomenon. Pascal's voice, warm, worn, protective, was a perfect contrast to the quiet vulnerability of the child. It turned The Mandalorian into not just a sci-fi action series, but a story about fatherhood, loss, and redemption. The Last of Us, from star to legend. In 2023, Pascal took on the role of Joel Miller in HBO's The Last of Us, an adaptation of the critically acclaimed video game. Fans were initially skeptical. Joel was a deeply complex, broken man, and gamers had high expectations. But Pascal delivered, and then some. His portrayal of Joel was gut-wrenching. Haunted by past trauma, fiercely protective of his surrogate daughter Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey, Pascal brought raw emotion and fierce intensity to every scene. The show became a critical and commercial hit, earning him widespread praise and numerous award nominations. With The Last of Us, Pedro Pascal officially joined the ranks of television royalty, a beloved public persona. Outside of his acting, Pascal has become a cultural icon for his endearing personality. Whether it's his daddy meme status on social media or his wholesome interactions with co-stars, Pascal has carved out a rare space, a genuine, grounded star in a world of pretense. He's openly supported LGBTQ+ rights, women's rights, and immigrant issues, often using his platform to advocate for the marginalized. His relationship with his transgender sister, Lux Pascal, has been particularly moving. In interviews, he beams with pride about her accomplishments and identity, calling her one of the most powerful people he knows. He's also incredibly close to his fans, whether showing up in costume at conventions, offering kind words online, or just laughing at the absurdity of his fame. Pedro Pascal doesn't take himself too seriously, and that's part of his charm. Filmography highlights. While TV has been his bread and butter, Pascal has also made a name for himself on the big screen. Some of his notable film roles include Kingsman: The Golden Circle, 2017, as Whiskey, a charismatic cowboy-style agent; Wonder Woman, 1984, 2020, as Maxwell Lord, a power-hungry businessman with a tragic past; The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, 2022, starring alongside Nicolas Cage in a wildly meta-comedy that showcased his comedic chops. Strange Way of Life, 2023, a short film by Pedro Almodovar, co-starring Ethan Hawke, which explored queerness, masculinity, and Western tropes. Each role has shown a different side of Pascal, from action hero to goofball to villain, proving his range and fearless commitment to the craft. private life and personal philosophy, Pedro Pascal is notoriously private about his dating life. Despite constant speculation, he has kept romantic relationships out of the public eye. What is clear, however, is his devotion to family, friends, and personal integrity. In interviews, Pascal often talks about gratitude. He's acutely aware of how long it took for success to find him and remains humble, often crediting collaborators and casting directors for giving him chances others wouldn't. He's also vocal about the importance of mental health, healing, and emotional vulnerability. He said that therapy and friendship have been crucial in surviving not just the industry, but life, legacy, and what comes next. Pedro Pascal's story is one of endurance. He didn't become a star at 20. He wasn't discovered by chance. He built his career piece by piece, over decades of struggle and heartbreak. And in doing so, he has become a symbol of hope for every actor, every immigrant, every late bloomer who wonders if it's too late. Now in his late 40s, Pascal is just getting started. With a second season of The Last of Us on the horizon, more film roles lined up, and increasing interest from directors like Greta Gerwig and Pedro Almodovar, his trajectory is only going up. But perhaps the greatest triumph of Pedro Pascal's life isn't the fame or the roles. It's that he stayed true to himself. He brought his full humanity to the screen, and in doing so, made room for others to be seen too.